Copper runs through the walls of your home. It hums inside every machine, and it carries the electricity that lights up entire cities. Each year we pull more than 20 million tons of it out of the ground. But almost no one asks the real question, not how we shape copper, but where it truly came from, because the answer does not begin in a mine. It begins in the death of a star. Long before there was an Earth, before there was even a sun, copper did not exist anywhere in the universe. In the beginning, there were only the lightest elements, hydrogen and helium, drifting through an empty dark. Every metal we know today had to be built from nothing, and the only place with enough heat and pressure to build it was the burning heart of a star. Deep inside a massive star, gravity crushes simple atoms together, fusing them into heavier and heavier elements over millions of years. This is where copper is forged quietly, atom by atom, in the core of a giant sun. But it stays locked away until the star itself comes to an end. When a giant star finally runs out of fuel, it can no longer hold itself up. In a single second, it collapses inward, and then it explodes. A supernova, one of the most powerful events in the universe. For a few brief moments, that dying star burns brighter than an entire galaxy, and in the blast it scatters everything it made, including its copper, out across space. Those copper atoms drifted through the emptiness for a very long time, part of vast clouds of dust and gas. Then, about 4.5 billion years ago, one of those clouds began to collapse under its own gravity. At its center, a new star ignited. Our sun, and around it, from the leftover dust, the planets formed. Copper, born in a dead star, became part of the young, molten Earth. But the Earth did not hand it over easily. In those early days, our planet was a churning ball of liquid rock, and the copper was spread impossibly thin, a few atoms here, a few atoms here, mixed into an entire world. Spread that thin copper is useless. Something had to gather it together, and that something was time, water, and heat. For hundreds of millions of years, deep underground, superheated water was driven through cracks in the rock by the heat of the Earth. As it flowed, that water dissolved copper out of the surrounding stone and carried it along. When the water cooled, or met the right kind of rock, the copper fell out and settled into the cracks. Again and again, age after age, this slow process gathered scattered copper into thick, rich veins. What the universe needed a supernova to create. The Earth spent eons quietly collecting into a single place. Every copper deposit on the planet is the result of that patient, ancient work. And in a few rare places, the Earth did something stranger still. It left copper lying in the ground in its pure metallic form, gleaming red, ready to use. Most metals are locked inside ore, bound to other elements and impossible to recognize. But copper is one of the very few that nature sometimes leaves out in the open. That single fact would change the course of human history. Because around 10,000 years ago, somewhere in the ancient world, a human being picked up a strange, heavy, reddish stone. It was not dull like the rocks around it. It shone. And when they struck it, it did not shatter like flint. It bent. It could be hammered, shaped, and sharpened, and it held its edge. For the first time, our ancestors were holding a metal. This was native copper, and it began to pull humanity out of the Stone Age. We even know one of these early copper owners by name. High in the Alps, a 5,000-year-old man was found frozen in the ice, perfectly preserved. We call him Etsy. And among his belongings was an axe, its blade made of almost pure copper. 5,000 years ago, this metal was already precious enough to carry to the top of a mountain. At first, people simply hammered copper into beads, hooks, and small blades. But then came a discovery that changed everything. When certain green and blue stones were heated in a hot enough fire, they bled molten copper. Humans had learned to smelt, to pull metal out of solid rock using nothing but heat. Copper no longer had to be found by luck. It could be made wherever the right stones met a strong enough flame. Copper gave us the first real tools that could cut and carve and build. Then it gave us something greater. When early metalworkers mixed copper with a little tin, they created a new metal, harder and stronger than either one alone: bronze. With bronze came sharper weapons, better tools, and the machinery of the first great empires. An entire age of history is named after it. And the Bronze Age was, in truth, the age of copper. This metal became so valuable that it left its mark on our very language. In the ancient world, one island supplied more copper than almost anywhere else: Cyprus. The Romans called the metal cuprum, meaning simply the metal of Cyprus. That old name never left, and it is why, thousands of years later, we still call it copper. For a long time, copper stayed close to human life, roofing temples, minting coins, and shaping the tools of daily work. But it was holding one last secret, and it would take civilization till the modern age to unlock it. Copper carries electricity better than almost any metal on Earth, and it does it cheaply. So when humanity finally learned to harness the electric current, copper became the material chosen to carry it. Look closely at the modern world, and you will find copper hidden everywhere inside it. It is in the wires behind your walls and the cables beneath the streets. It is in the motors, the generators, and the power grids that stretch across whole continents. It is in your phone, your car, and the vast network that moves electricity from distant power plants into your home. The invisible nervous system of modern civilization is built almost entirely out of copper, which is exactly why the world is now racing for it. As we build electric cars, solar farms, wind turbines, and ever larger power grids, our hunger for copper is growing fast. A single electric car can hold several times more copper than an ordinary one. In the deserts of Chile sit mines, so enormous they can be seen from space, where machines tear through mountains of rock to reach ore that is often less than 1% copper. Nations negotiate and prices climb, all for a metal first scattered into space by an exploding star. And that is the part we forget. Every time you flip a switch, charge your phone, or drive past a power line, you are touching something with an almost impossible history. The copper in that wire was forged inside a dying star. It drifted through space, fell into a newborn planet, was gathered by underground rivers of fire and water, discovered by ancient hands, and finally drawn into the thin, bright thread that powers your life. It is one of the oldest things you will ever hold, and one of the most important. This is copper, not just a metal we dig up and shape, but a gift from a dying star, billions of years in the making, still quietly holding our whole civilization together. If you found the true story of copper as fascinating as we did, give this video a thumbs up and subscribe so you never miss the hidden history of the things that built our world. We will see you in the next one.